as a musician, what instrument that musicians play tend to be the most snobberish? Like, is it the piano player? Is it the drummer?
Piano would come to mind.
Is it the bass player? Is it the guitar player? Is it the vocalist? Is it the horn player? Like, who is the biggest music snob out of all musicians?
Hey, yo! No, wait. No. What's happening? Back at you again with another episode of the Music and Them podcast.
You know what it is.
Legendarius 51. And to my left, we have Damani Rhodes. To my right, we have Sam God. And, Damani's the founder of the DrumTrax app.
I did do that. Listen, but here's the thing. If you are a drummer and you're trying to take your drumming to the next level, I need you to sign up for DrumTrax Premium because we got you. If you're a beginner drummer, you need to check out our beginner course. It's crazy. We'll take you from not knowing how to play the drums to playing your first songs, your first drum fills. We'll teach you the relationship between bass and drums, like all of the good stuff you need to know to actually be a good drummer. And you can get a free trial. It's free. The links are in the description. If you're a dope drummer or you're an intermediate drummer and you really want to, try to get to that advanced level and you're working on your chops, we got you. If you're tired of practicing to just a click and being bored in your practice, then you need to also sign up because we got a whole bunch of drumless play along tracks for you. And let's say you don't even really want all of the lessons because you feel like you're an advanced drummer and can't nobody tell you nothing. Well, we can still make your practice much more fun than it is because we got a bunch of music for you guys to practice to, and we also have just a streaming subscription. So all the links and information is in the description to everything. You guys can get a free trial to whichever subscription, and you know what to do.
Don't come around Sticks talking about advanced drummers either. I'll tell you that right now.
Sticks doesn't fool with the advanced drummers because you can't tell him anything. That's what he says. He's lightly right. Like if the drummer feels like he knows what he's doing, he feels like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Smart ones though will take advice.
Be smart.
Always take advice.
Yeah.
Today, I don't know why you yelled that. Today we're going to be talking about music snobs. Okay, you know who you are. You music snobs.
What is a music snob? Are you a music snob?
Are we music snobs?
No.
To a certain extent, I have to say, yeah. I think we are.
I mean, what? Okay, let's define music snob. How do we define a music snob?
Because I think when you play music and you're obsessed with music, like you tend to have a higher standard in terms of what you're willing to put up with, So that might be part of what a music snob compared to the general populace or civilians, as I refer to them.
The civilians, the non-musicians, you regular folk.
Yeah. People that don't play music,
the uninitiated.
And I got another good question with this though too, and we'll get to it. We don't have to discuss it now, but like, what instrument, like as a musician, what instrument that musicians play tend to be the most snobberish? Like, is it the piano player? Is it the drummer?
Piano would come to mind.
Is it the bass player? Is it the guitar player? Is it the vocalist? Is it the horn player? Like, who is the biggest music snob out of all musicians?
Definitely not the drummer. Nah, I'm just playing.
All you snobs. I don't think that snobbery comes with the snobbery. I like it. I don't think that snobbery comes with the with an instrument. I think it comes with a particular level of knowledge.
Okay.
Right. And so I think that some of us are snobs, and then, let's talk about church, right?
Okay.
A lot of people, get snobbery about church. And I think I had a degree of that, especially based around being snobs kind of against this CCM thing that's happening. And then I'm listening to some of them and I'm like, wait a minute. No, hold on. Because we think that things need to be difficult or have some high degree of this, whatever.
Technical challenge.
You can't be simple and be wonderful.
That's
Sure. No,
That's
I get it. And I think that, so we do have to decide between, is being not a fan of something, does that make you a snob?
No.
That's a personal preference.
Because everything's not for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's people who don't like jazz, as crazy as they are.
Yeah, right. As crazy as.
But there are people who don't like.
They just don't have the palate for it.
But
which makes that would make me a snob. Like, that was a snobbish remark, right?
That's a snobby statement.
Yeah. There's people.
Why don't you like it?
Right. Okay. So it's the why.
Like
right now, let's go back to the CCM thing, right? Because I am like not the biggest proponent of all of the CCM that happens in church these days, right?
Correct.
But it's not because some of the songs are actually really dope to me.
Really dope.
Some of the songs are just like, yo, this just feels amazing. But I guess it goes back to the preference of what I want to feel, right? And when I'm in church and there's CCM all the time, like there's a lot of it too that don't feel like nothing to me.
Yes.
That just is boring.
CCM kind of has this same mood, like in every song,
right? But to be fair, so does a lot of other genres, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's true.
To be fair, but at the end of the day, there's just a preference there. It was like, okay, like I prefer this feeling over this one, and if I had to have one feeling more often than the other, I'd rather have this one than this one. Type
and
of
that's a
vibe.
feeling.
But does that make someone a snob?
No.
I think what makes someone a snob is if they come in and they start trying to tell you that's not CCM, this is real CCM. Now you've entered into snob territory.
Yeah.
Just because to me it's like, okay, it's not just you don't like CCM, you have the right to not like CCM. You have the right to not like jazz, hip hop, rock, whatever. As long as it's like,
you just
good
don't like
reasons.
it
Like
sonically.
I genuinely don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it for some other BS reason.
You know all these rules that other people aren't privy to, or
right?
something
And so
like
at the end of the day, it's like, okay, if you genuinely just don't like that genre, you just genuinely don't like that genre. That's fine. But you should still be able to determine whether someone in the genre that you don't like is doing it well.
Yeah,
but if
I think you can not like something and still respect it.
100%.
Yes.
But then there's also, you're right though, Darius, that there are people who don't like CCM because they say it's just these boring 4 chords, right?
Correct.
Because it is those 4 chords, right? That's the reality of it.
Well, there's 5 now.
Okay. I mean, if you're considering the 3 one of the chords when it's really just the 1 over the 3, which is just an inversion of the 1, but we're not here to talk about it because here I am
See,
sounding
he's
like
a
a
snob.
snob. Here I am. But at the end of the day, if you genuinely don't like it, it's cool. But and there's people who hate it for those reasons, like you're saying. But at the end of the day, man, like there's also those of us who are just like, I'm just bored of this, and this is all we do now. And I mean, and that's not the case at the churches that I play at. That they don't. We do some of it for sure, but it's just not all we do. But if I went to a church where that was all we did, I just wouldn't go to a church. That's all we did.
But then there's also the aspect, and this kind of maybe gets into snobbery too, when you're talking about people saying they're not doing it correctly.
Correct.
Because now there are people taking these CCM songs, and I was like, oh, that was a gospel change. So now I'm even associating the two as different things. Mm-hmm. But it's still a CCM song, but now just incorporating different.
See, but now we have to start talking about what makes a song CCM, and we all enter into snob territory. The point here to me is that it is very difficult to not enter snob territory based on the definition we've set for it, because we all try to understand things based on, or we try to communicate things based on how we understand it. Yes. And so if I understand CCM to be a specific type of chord progression played with specific types of voicings, and I go to a CCM place and they say play CCM, and I play the chord progression but I don't play those voicings, and I add extensions that aren't typically in CCM, am I really playing CCM still? And if someone says, hey, that's not what we're looking for, we said CCM, are they a snob for that?
Right. Do they just want the triad and they're like, you're doing too much right now?
Right. That's a major 7, and we don't do that in CCM hardly ever.
Okay, so there's a lot in that. So yes, you can be a snob, but some people are snobs and some people are just uninformed.
Okay.
And also we have to give, as with all music that has happened, we have to give it room to evolve.
Okay.
And to grow, because not everything that we hear today is what it was 20 years ago. As far as,
no, in all genres.
Yeah, there's no genre that's like that. So, bringing it back to CCM, like, yes, there are aspects where you can put the 7s and the 9s in there. There are some times where I've put a 7th in there and I'm like, nope, because it makes it sound horrible.
Or it changes the feel,
Yeah,
the
so,
desired outcome.
But
it's a time and place for everything. Sometimes it doesn't belong.
Right.
But you can add those 9s if it works, it works. And you have to let the music evolve into using 9s, and you have to let it evolve into using a sharp 4 to get over to the 5. Like you can do all those things.
Then if they're doing it as a diminished chord over on the sharp 4 going to the 5, not CCM
no.
anymore.
Well, no,
you have fully crossed over into blues, gospel, everything that has to do with that sharp 4 as a fully diminished chord going to the 5.
Well, I don't know. The sharp 4s that we've had so far have been like if we're in A.
It's just the 2 major, right? Without the dominant 7. Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, music is music at the end of the day.
Drummers
but
have no idea what we were talking about
Sorry.
just now.
So what you do if you hit the flam with the flute flop, then you know.
It's just certain. I mean, musical genres always get boxed in to a certain extent.
Yeah.
You know, where
Yeah.
I think I like it when people think outside the box. You know.
Sure. And
And
there's
I
nothing
guess-
wrong with mixing and mashing. See, okay, so when you mix and match genres, I feel like people who do that, the people who do the fusion of it or whatever, those people aren't musical snobs. They're taking the best of whatever they like about whichever genre and they're putting them together. It's the purists who tend to be the most snobbish.
Yeah. I guess the
Okay,
purist
okay.
attitude is I'm not that kind of snob. You know.
Yeah.
I don't like that idea because that always comes down to rules and stuff like that.
Sure.
Where I think that music should be more free than that. You
But
know?
I think it comes from a idea of a person who thinks in boxes, right? Where they have compartmentalized things. Like, no, I learned jazz and this is jazz. But you're doing this and that's not that, so that's not jazz. It's something like it, but it's not jazz. Because I have compartmentalized what these things are. Or this is gospel. And what you might still be singing about God, but it's not the style of God. I've heard that argument like so much from different musicians, and I get it. And you can do that with hip hop. People talk about hip hop today not being hip hop.
That's not real hip hop.
Right. Because hip hop is what I identify with.
Right.
And what I identify with is the hip hop of the 90s. And some of the guys from the 90s are like, nah, but what we was doing in the 80s, because hip hop was more than just rap. You guys are just rapping. Hip hop was
And now
B-boys.
hip hop is like a completely different genre that bears
don't even
no
know what it
resemblance
is.
to the 90s at all.
Right. So it's just like,
But to me, it's like at the end of the day, did you move me?
yeah.
Did you make me feel something?
Come on.
That's what I
good.
need.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's 3 chords or you're doing something really harmonically cool. Like, did you move me?
Facts.
Was there something behind the song, like an intention that went into it that I just really felt? And I was like, And different people are going to feel different things.
Right.
You know?
100%.
So it's not everything is for everybody.
Right.
You know?
And that's okay. Everything don't have to be for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, and just because it's not for you doesn't make you a snob, but you are a snob if you're saying that, no, it's not just for me. It shouldn't be for you either. That's where where the snob, the real.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think as we're talking about this, I keep getting closer and closer to a solid definition of what a snob is, or music snob in this situation. A music snob to me, I guess, is someone who says, my preferences are the best preferences. They're not just my preferences. They should be yours. That's what a music
and
snob
when it gets
is.
into defining things through genres, you know, that's where a lot of the snobbery comes in. Because like we were talking about, it's like, oh, that's not gospel or that's not jazz. And then you really, if you're approaching your music that way as a songwriter, you know, you might get tripped up and have problems expressing yourself if you're listening to the snobs too much.
Right.
You
And
know?
you know, but at the same time, I keep going back and forth in my mind about this because at a certain point, there does have to be some type of distinction so we can talk about it. Mm-hmm. Because if there's no distinction, then everything is everything. And if everything is everything, then it's nothing, right?
Right.
So it's kind of
You're not
like,
making your music for everyone.
right. But
know?
even when we talk about genres, like if you're going to say, hey, when you communicate, if we're on a gig together, right? And let's say we're doing an improv thing and you're like, hey, let's go into a jazz swing, right? Like that's a style. However, if I don't know where that style starts or ends, then it could mean anything.
Right.
And
right.
so
but
like,
it's key you said swing because that's a feel. Whereas jazz is this really vague. We can talk about jazz all day because the jazz snobs kill me.
Yeah,
because they're always like, this is what jazz is. It's like, look at Miles Davis and John Coltrane's career and how much they varied over time from bebop to just basically being completely free-form.
Experimental,
Let's just stay on one chord for 20 minutes and see what happens.
Yeah.
and try to define to me what jazz is.
Right.
You know?
They're you could, I guess you have to just define it in eras because it is in different eras. But that's why I said jazz swing, because that
if we're gonna
confines
say
it.
let's swing.
But if you say let's swing, but there's a whole bunch of swung feels that are not like jazz swing, where it's not me keeping 2 and 4 on the left foot and feathering the bass drum and, you know, playing quarter notes with my right hand on the ride cymbal. Like that's...
Pause. What he just said, you guys need to listen to, all you drummers. I'm talking to all the cameras right now.
What happened just now?
Stop doing that ding, ding, ding,
Oh my
ding, 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 ding. Quarter notes, especially if you have a good bass player playing with you, because swing is between that ride and that bass. If the bass player ain't swinging, then it doesn't matter how hard the drummer is swinging. If the drummer is swinging, it doesn't. If the bass player isn't swinging, it doesn't matter how hard the drum swings, whatever, back and forth.
Now you do realize, Darius, that you sounded very snobbish right there.
Your forehead is snobbish. So what I'm saying is, because
My forehead is snobbish now. Jesus Christ!
Once he starts bringing foreheads into it, it's
Triggered much?
So no, but okay, I say that and I understand how that can sound like snobbery, but I've talked to a lot of drummers and a lot of bass players about those differences, and everybody that's a player that I've talked to has acknowledged that
Quarter notes.
Those, and I'm not saying you got to play the whole song quarter notes, but just
the
that
foundation,
thing that they teach you in high school jazz, dun 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 dun. You gotta evolve past that. It's culture, baby.
I think we're all snobs to a certain extent.
I think
which
it's,
is kind of what I said
it's
at the
unescapable
beginning, because
we're gonna be snobs. Somebody's gonna be a snob. It just is unescapable.
Yeah. Like, do you want to play with beginners?
Nope.
No, nobody wants to do that. I mean, well,
I don't mind it.
That's kind of a snobby thing to say in a way.
No,
but
well,
because I heard myself
it's-
say it, and I was just like, man, that was kind of snobbish.
I don't want to
But-
only play with beginners.
Right, there you go. I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Do you want to play
I
with
play with
experience?
beginners all the time.
But yeah, and I think because I remember being a beginner, and you always wanted to play with people better than you because it helps you get better and you get pointers and more
Right.
experience.
Yeah,
So no, I get it. There's definitely time and place for that. But at the end of the day, I think you just have to try to watch and check for your music snobbery so that it doesn't just get way over the top.
Exactly.
And so that you're not one of those
Exactly.
guys that feel like the only way things should be done is the way you should. Like, you guys talk about the church snobbery and church music, the jazz snobbery, but I've experienced it on the funk side.
Funk snobbery.
Funk
It
snobbery,
exists
bro.
everywhere.
I
Yeah.
know, and he probably knows if he sees this podcast. He knows who I'm talking about. He knows who
Name
he
him.
is.
Name him.
I'm not gonna do that. He's one of the homies too, but he is one of the biggest funk snobs on planet Earth. Like, you can't tell. Like, I mean, he likes all kind of funk though. He does, but if you're playing, that's James Brown funk. This P funk. But that Prince funk, yeah. But you know that New Jack Swing in the night, that was funk. You know where they really got that from? And like, it's all about like, and if you do something, be like, I mean, it's that's funky, but it ain't funky. You know what I'm saying? Like, like it ain't. I'm like, okay, all right. Okay. But at the end of the day, we just try to steer clear of the extremity of it. But I think everybody got a little music snobbish in them a little bit.
Yeah.
If you're a connoisseur of anything,
That's the thing. Connoisseur. That's
Yeah.
a good word. Yeah.
if you're a musician, you're a music connoisseur. Like, you should be, at least.
Yeah.
And if you're not, you should become a music connoisseur, because it will help you become a better musician.
Because you got to identify these different things. Like, I try to take in as much knowledge as possible.
Yeah.
Like, what defines gospel?
Yeah.
What defines jazz, or the different subtypes of jazz, like bebop and cool.
And what I would suggest is
all
to
this
stop
stuff.
letting people tell you what defines these genres. Listen to them.
Yeah.
Listen to the actual genre. When we be talking about we do our homework, or we're studying this music, it's not about looking at sheet music on a piece of paper. It's literally about listening to the actual music and hearing what was actually done. And so once you actually understand the nuances of what was happening, because one of the biggest mistakes I made when I was in junior college, I took a jazz improv class with Reggie Graham. Shout out to Reggie Graham, right?
Shout out to Reg.
And he gave us some pages from the real book, or it was the fake book, one of them books. And I was looking at the chord, and I hadn't heard these jazz tunes in my life, but I could read the chord charts, like, oh, it's a C minor 7. go to F7, B flat major 7. Cool, the 2-5-1. We'll play that because it was Autumn Leaves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I listened to it. Well, I played it. Then he gave me a recording of it. And I was like, the chords that are being played on this record, yes, it's that 2-5-1 progression, but the voicings and the extension,
Yeah,
like it's not the same. I had to go back and it totally changed how I played the song.
There's a flat 9 right there or something, you know?
It totally changed how I played the song. And so, like at the end of the day, I just you got to listen. If you're studying, if you got to go listen.
Don't
to
just
stuff.
go off those real book charts.
Yes,
those are always just wrong.
If you want to know what real gospel music is, go listen to a bunch of gospel music. Go listen to the old stuff all the way up to the new stuff.
It's like being a sommelier, like with wine. You know, it's like you got to taste all this wine to identify. Oh, this comes from this region of France or something like that. If you haven't tasted all the wine, you're not going to know.
You're not going to know.
You know, you're just going off what other people
have all
are
of
saying.
it. And even when you're saying you heard the recording of it, and now you're like, oh, wait, it's that. But if you listen to 3 other recordings of it, it'll be doing 3 different things.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, so I can go this way. You have to do your homework.
Perspective. Because at the end of the day, we're studying, we're looking back at the people who were doing things at a certain period in time, creating.
Yes.
And to say that one way is the right way only makes you a snob. Because the truth is, you're absolutely wrong about that if you think that there's only one way to do it. Because the history shows us that there's multiple ways it was done. So,
and usually the people that are killing it are the trendsetters who took the genre and then evolved it, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's actually
they're just being themselves.
So music snobbery then is the thing that keeps music where it's at and doesn't allow it to get pushed forward.
Right.
Ooh.
It's like the people teaching it in schools, but that aren't actually out there doing it.
Shots fired.
Ooh, that means shots fired.
Shots fired. Come at us, bro. You don't want this smoke.
And if you're doing both, I'm not talking about you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have seen this though too. I've seen this in real life where there's people who play and they're out there doing it and they can't explain very well what they're doing. They can't teach it to you. They can show you, they can demonstrate, but teaching is a whole nother craft. It's a whole nother art to be able to get someone else to understand. So I mean, I get it. I totally understand the idea of, needing to be a teacher who also
some people are better
at
teaching.
Right. If you are though, because there's teachers that are not great at teaching and they don't have the experience or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But just because you do have the experience and you're out there playing all these things doesn't mean that you can explain it well.
Not at all.
But the best is to have someone of both worlds.
If you've had some real life experience.
It's like watching Steve Kerr coach the Golden State Warriors. Yeah. He was a championship basketball player on a championship basketball team, had a lot of success, and now he's a coach that's able to help. But there's also other players who, like Rick Adelman, coached the Sacramento Kings. I think he played in the league. We never won
anything.
We got close though. The Lakers snubbed us, or the ref.
That was
in the words of the great Brandy Norwood, almost doesn't count.
Oh, okay. We can tell you're not a Kings fan out here.
Yeah. The disappointing Kings.
Yeah, but it is what it is, man. But listen, we're going to call it on this one. I want you guys to answer this question in the comments. Are you a music snob? First of all, what is a music snob to you? Are you a music snob? Are we music snobs? And if we are, who's the biggest music snob of the three of us?
Probably me.
Let us know.
Yeah. All right, fam. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
We are here.
Fam, it's your boy Damani. I hope you enjoyed the video that you just watched, and I hope you liked the video. I hope you left a comment, and I wanted to invite you into DrumTrax Premium. We literally have over 350 drum lessons, over 300 by now, drumless tracks, a community in the private Facebook group of drummers that we go live with and do live drum coaching every single week. We want to help you find your voice and explore your creativity on the drums. We can do that with DrumTrax Premium. You can find the links in the description of this video, and if you're looking for more content, you can click one of the videos that are showing up on the screen right now and check them out. All right, fam? I look forward to seeing you in more videos, and I look forward to seeing you in DrumTrax Premium. All right, fam. Peace.